Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news this Tuesday morning. And it looks like again, Mitt Romney shows us that he is a Democrat parading around as a crappy Republican. And it's no surprise to me because this is something we've covered on the channel years ago, back during the impeachment, one of President Trump during the whole Burisma Ukraine thing, and where they were wanting to investigate further into, well, they didn't want to investigate. Congress didn't want to investigate. It was the Republican Party who want to look at Hunter a little closer and a connection to Joe Biden, but they didn't want to do any of that. So they focused solely on Trump on that investigation, trying to get him impeached. And of course, Mitt Romney was one of the only senators for the Republican Party who voted to impeach him. I wonder why. Is because Joe Biden might as well be the same person. Mitt Romney has connections to Hunter Biden, through his staff to Burisma. There's a reason he doesn't want the new House Republicans coming into office to investigate Hunter Biden, because it's going to lead to him, because he rubs elbows with these Democrat people, these globalists, these establishment types, who are all in it together to get rich. So let's take a look what we have here. It says where I know Mitt Romney calls for investigations into Hunter Biden to end. But of course, we know there's much more to the story, right? Mitt Romney has once again coast. You have two Democrats by recently condemning his Republican colleagues who are launching investigations into Hunter Biden, Romney told The Bulwark. He believes investigations by the now Republican control House are just a waste of time and resources. Romney says we'll go on to say I think the American people wants us to tackle some of the big challenges. We have immigration, inflation, and so forth. And other things that divert from those priorities, I think are a waste of time. He said. The Gateway pundit previously revealed Romney's top advisor Joseph Coffer Black was on the board of Burisma Holding while Hunter was also sitting on the board. That connection alone makes sense why Romney would be against any investigation into Hunter Biden, right? You had the lone break when Republicans came once again from Mitt Romney, who told The Bulwark those types of political investigations, particularly into Hunter Biden, are a poor use of Congress's already limited resources. It's extremely hypocritical for Romney to claim investigating Hunter Biden as a wasted time and resources back in May of 2021. Romney was one of 6 Republican senators who voted in favor of a bill that created the January 6 committee. So it is clear Romney's is for investigations into Trump and his supporters, but not in favor of vetting investigation to Hunter Biden due to Romney's top advisor previously sitting on the board of Burisma. Romney's comments come after Republicans' numbers. Members of the Oversight and Reform Committee vowed to launch an investigation to Hunter Biden's business dealings that involve his father, Joe Biden. The Gateway pundit was reported in response to the upcoming House investigation. Hunter Biden is planning to go on the offensive and is prepared to sue Fox News' Eric Trump and Rudy Giuliani for dissemination. As hard to believe Romney, who was the face of the Republican Party back in 2012, syndromic, terrific presidential run in 2012, the Republican Party has been transformed by President Trump for the better. And of course, we know Robbie is extremely jealous and envious of President Trump, because he wanted to be president. He wanted to be the leader of the Unit Party. And he was unable to accomplish that because the Unit Party screwed them as well, because he was a useful idiot for them. And they knew he would be a gracious loser, and he would continue to suck up to the mainstream media, suck up to Democrats, and suck up to the Republican establishment as he has. He absolutely hates his voters. I have no idea why the voters of Utah cannot find a better candidate than Mitt Romney. Come on, guys in Utah. I know you guys can find somebody better than Romney. That dude is horrible. And this is some huge news. Another Twitter files dropped. Let's bring in go, folks. It's been years and years of zero transparency, and to finally get the truth behind what's really going on behind the scenes with these unelected technocrats have been doing, it's just an absolute blessing. The newest Twitter files dropped, our Twitter files number 3, this time on the topic of the deep platforming of Donald Trump. And guess what, friends, there's a common denominator here in every single instance, including Donald Trump's banning the feds were involved. Another massive bombshell to add to the list of bombshells. It continues to get more explosive the deeper we go. Let's keep on swimming, folks, because this stuff matters. Alright, folks, take a look at this. We got a piece from the Blaze Media once again. Elon Musk drops third set of Twitter files detailing federal involvement in the decision to ban Donald Trump. Billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk released a third trove of documents detailing the decision at Twitter to suspend former President Donald Trump permanently, and how federal agencies might have been involved. Matt Taibbi once again hits us with this explosive bombshell thread. The Twitter files: the removal of Donald Trump, Part 1, October 2022, January 6. The world knows much of the story of what happened between riots at the Capitol on January 6 and the removal of President Donald Trump from Twitter on January 8. We'll show you what hasn't been revealed: the erosion of standards within the company in months before J6, decisions by high-ranking executives to violate their own policies, and more against the backdrop of ongoing documented interactions with federal agencies. First installment covers the period before the election through January 6. Tomorrow, Sheldon Berger MD will detail the chaos inside Twitter on January 7. On Sunday, Bari Weiss will reveal the secret internal communications from the key date of January 8. Whatever your opinion on the decision to remove Donald Trump that day, the internal communications at Twitter between January 6 and January 8 have even Twitter's employees understood in the moment it was a landmark moment in the annals of speech. Is this the first sitting state to ever be suspended? A Twitter employee asks. As soon as they finished banning Trump, Twitter executives started processing new power. They prepared to ban future presidents and White Houses, perhaps even Joe Biden. Quote, the new administration says one executive will not be suspended by Twitter unless absolutely necessary, as stated in our ban evasion policy. If it is clear that another account is being used for the purpose of evading a ban, it is also subject to suspension for government accounts such as at POTUS and at White House. We will not spend those accounts, but we'll take action to limit their use. However, these accounts will be transitioned over to the new administration in due course and will not be suspended by Twitter unless absolutely necessary to alleviate real-world harm. And so actually, I think what they're saying here is they were considering banning or suspending the reach of at POTUS and at White House for the next 12 days or so until the next administration took over after Inauguration Day. How in the heck do tech executives at Twitter think that they have the authority to control and suppress the White House's communication tools on their platform? This really goes to show the God complex of some of these individuals at Twitter. I mean, I don't know who they think they are. Let's continue with Twitter executives removed Donald Trump in part over what one executive called the context surrounding actions by Trump and supporters over the course of the election and, frankly, the last 4 years. In the end, they looked at a broad picture, but that approach can cut both ways. Hi, Vagina. I'm working with Redacted on my team to put together a document to share with you with a POV from Research. Our academics with whom we have been working etc. on Donald J. Trump's language has coded incitement to further violence. In the meantime, here's our quick take. The decision on whether to pull that particular tweet or use that as a last straw for Trump depends on many factors, including 1. The overall context and narrative in which that tweet lives. We currently analyze tweets and consider them at a tweet-by-tweet basis, which does not appropriately take into account the context surrounding. You can use the yelling fire into a crowded theater example. Context matters in the narrative that Trump and his friends have pursued over the course of this election. And frankly, the last 4 years must be taken into account when interpreting and analyzing that tweet. Number 2. The larger question is around our moral imperative and decision as a company which user sentiment should not drive based on. Number 1. And I believe that this tweet does violate our rules when taking that historical context plus current. And now this I find incredibly troubling, because when Elon Musk unbanned Donald Trump's account, all of his tweets were asking people to remain peaceful, specifically telling people not to be violent. I am asking for everyone at the US Capitol to remain peaceful, no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect if the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. He also tweeted this video right over here, which I'm sure you guys remember. President Trump says, I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. Okay folks, and so if you ask me, this is clear proof of political bias. The last 4 years of Donald Trump and his supporters, these people cannot name a single concrete example of a real call to violence or extremism to pin on Donald Trump or his supporters over the last 40 years. They use these vague statements as, oh frankly, The last 4 years my Trump evil orange mad therefore, let's ban him. It's absolutely despicable. But of course, it gets worse as the election approached. Senior executives, perhaps under pressure from federal agencies, with whom they met more as time progressed, increasingly struggled with rules and began to speak of Vios as pretext to do what they'd likely have done anyway. After January 6, internal Slacks now show Twitter executives getting a kick out of intensified relationships with federal agencies. Here's the trust and safety head Al Roth lamenting a lack of generic enough calendar descriptions to concealing his very interesting meeting with partners. Al Roth writes, "It happens. I'm a big believer in calendar transparency, but I reached a certain point where my meetings became very interesting. To people, and there weren't meeting names generic enough to cover a very boring business meeting that is definitely not about Trump. Little winky face, pretty much definitely not meeting with the FBI. I swear." Yoel Roth writes sarcastically, these initial reports are based on searches for documents linked to prominent executives whose names are already public. They include Ross, former Trust and Safety Policy Chief of Ajaya Gotti, and recently Plank Wald, Deputy General Counsel, and former top FBI lawyer Jim Baker. One particular Slack channel offers a unique window into the evolving thinking of top officials in late 2020 and early 2021. On October 8, 2020, executives open a channel called AS 2020 XFN Enforcement through January 6. This would be the home for discussions about election-related removals, especially ones that involve high-profile accounts, often called the "it is very important" tweeters, and so it shows how the system was ran behind the scenes. There's a clear political bias. They were working with federal agencies to censor speech and control narratives. And then, of course, as we know, it ended with banning Donald Trump, the at the time current sitting U.S. president, from the platform. And if you really think about it, if the FBI was involved in censoring Donald Trump, that's even more egregious because Donald Trump is essentially the FBI, his boss, he's the commander-in-chief, the number one top executive. It seems as though federal agencies were working behind the scenes to not only subvert the American people's electoral will, but to subvert, censor, and deplatform the sitting president of the United States at the time. That is messed up. The whole thing is being exposed, and once again, we're learning that Donald Trump was right about everything. The deep state, the swamp, a shadowy underground cabal operating within the sewers of Washington, behind the scenes with no transparency, secretly manipulate and execute their will, their control in the American system. Donald Trump got in the way, and so they all conspired, all these incredibly powerful institutions, to stop him. I guess in conclusion, I'm gonna say the same thing that I have been saying in these videos. I don't ever want to hear the word democracy come out of any of these hacks' mouths ever again. They were all part of one grand conspiracy to subvert democracy, and that is no longer a theory, but rather it is now fact, it is now history. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button to watch the next episode.